Nearly all of us buy into what Sonja Lyubomirsky, one of the leading happiness researchers, calls the myths of happiness. Those are beliefs that certain achievements like getting married or having kids, or getting certain kind of jobs, or making a certain amount of money will make us forever happy. And that certain failures or adversities, like health problems or not having a life partner or having just little money, will make us forever unhappy. But overwhelming research evidence actually reveals that there is no such magic formula for happiness and no sure course towards misery. So one such happiness myth is the notion that I will be happy when something happens. Fill in the blank. I'll be happy when I get that promotion, when I have a baby, when I'm rich, or something like that. The myth is not that achieving those dreams won't make us happy. They almost certainly will. The problem is that these achievements, even when initially perfectly satisfying, will not make us intensely happy for the long run. And definitely not as happy as we believe they will. Because when fulfilling these goals doesn't make us happy as we expected, we feel there must be something wrong with us. We feel we must be the only ones to feel this way. But that's actually not the case. Almost everybody falls for one or the other kind of happiness myth. Similarly, the other kind of happiness myth is the belief that I can't be happy when. I can't be happy when something negative happens. For example, when a negative change of fortune befalls us, our reaction is often supersized. We feel that we can never be happy again, that our lives as we know them are over now. That would be, I can't be happy when I don't have a partner, like my partner left me. I will never ever be happy again. Or I can't be happy now that I'm broke. Although it may appear that some of these major challenges will definitely and permanently change our lives, for the better or for worse, it is really our responses to them that govern their repercussions. Indeed, it is our initial reactions that make these turns of events into crisis, in the first place, instead of foreseeable and even ordinary passages of life that they actually are. This may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but it's actually true, and we will explore in a second why our mind is so bad at understanding what makes us happy and what doesn't make us happy, especially when it comes to longer term things. Unfortunately, human beings aren't very accurate in predicting their emotional reactions to future events. And this is what is explained by affective forecasting. So we take action on this belief, explicit or implicit, that one action will lead us to greater happiness, greater rewards than some alternative action. Whether we're trying to decide what to have for breakfast or whether or not to get married, every decision is based on the belief that one choice will probably lead us to feel better than another choice. The problem is that whether we look at minute events such as receiving negative feedback or things that are more important like the election of the next president, for example, what we find is pretty much the same across the board. People almost always overestimate the intensity and the duration of their future emotional reactions. For instance, when researchers asked to predict how they will feel 2 months after a breakup, people often expect to feel devastated. But when you actually compare them with those who have already gone through a breakup, you find that the effects tend to be milder and wear off much more quickly than people initially predict. So why is that? One of the reasons is a phenomenon that researchers call the hedonic treadmill. A major problem with seeking happiness in our external circumstances is that we adjust very rapidly to those circumstances. So if we get a new car, an award, a specific sum of money, for example, when we do reach those goals, we very quickly adapt to these new circumstances. We very quickly find new, greater goals to work towards too. The happiness you expect to last has quickly moved ahead with these new goals and left you behind. We very quickly forget and ignore what we have as our focus continually shifts to those things that we want. Also, because of evolution, we are wired to want more. We are wired to want the things we don't have, because that's what ensures our survival. But nowadays, our survival is not threatened. Nowadays, we care about having happy and fulfilled lives. So for example, if you move to a larger, nicer apartment, for the first week or two, you will probably feel elated. It's great. The bedroom is so spacious, the living room is stylish, and the view is magnificent. But after a few weeks, the novelty begins to wear off, and you begin to become adapted to your new circumstances. The view from your bedroom window no longer makes you smile. You begin to take these things for granted, and you may even begin finding faults with your fantastic view. The place that initially seemed perfect suddenly has areas in need of improvement. If only the shower were a little bit bigger, or the bedroom had another closet, or the balcony would be really nice. Or maybe it's time for a house instead of an apartment, and so on and so on. This concept of adapting to our circumstances is known as the hedonic treadmill, a term coined by two famous researchers, and it basically says that the status quo is never enough. We keep running, pursuing things that we think will make us happy, only to find that our level of happiness remains about the same. So does this mean that whatever we do will always go back to base level? A base level that's maybe determined by our genes? No. No, we do have influence on our well-being. But for a very long time, psychologists believe that we always go back to our base levels. So for a very long time, psychologists believe that we actually do not have influence on at least not on our long-term happiness. But as I said, this turned out to be wrong. We actually are able to increase our happiness and our success in the long term. It's just that the strategies that we usually use to do this are flawed. Because beyond having our basic human needs fulfilled, that means having enough food, having a place to live, living in a free society where we're not oppressed. Once these needs are fulfilled, our external circumstances matter surprisingly little. And to demonstrate this, I want to share with you a quote of Ed Diener. He's one of the pioneers of happiness research, researching for more than 30 years now. And he puts this like this. He says, "It appears that the way people perceive the world is much more important to happiness than objective circumstances." This means that happiness has to, up to a certain extent, to be found within ourselves. And what exactly this means, and how we can indeed change, is what we will explore throughout this course.